Since Easter, the disciples have been going through numerous changes. Remember on Friday, they were devastated that Jesus was crucified. And then they were overwhelmed by the resurrection. And then they said, now what do we do? And of course, what happened over the course of the next 40 days, Jesus began to appear to them in different ways, eating with them, speaking with them, and continuing to teach them. And then in the reading from the Acts of the Apostles, suddenly he's taken up to heaven. And I'm sure they'd said again, now what are we going to do? How many of us have said that when there's a big change in our lives? Now what? We don't know what's going to happen. We're all utterly dumbstruck. We may have lost someone we love. We may have broken up from a relationship. We may have lost our jobs. We may have experienced an illness that we did not know that could be devastating. And I think many times our first reaction is, now what do I do? And what happens? In the Acts of the Apostles, the angel comes to them and said, okay, don't worry. That's one of the big themes about the Gospels. Don't worry. Go to the upper room and wait for further instructions. And I'm sure that that time between the Ascension and Pentecost, the disciples were wondering, now what's going to happen? Is he going to come back? What's going to do? And what happens? And we'll find out about that. Next week, the Spirit comes down upon them and sends them forth. Many times in life, many of us have experienced situations where we have no idea what's going to happen. Our reaction is, now what do I do? Well, they get clear instructions today. The disciples said, the angels say, go and wait. And sometimes we're rather impatient about going and waiting. I want it done now. I'm not going to wait. I want everything to happen now. And what do? We get frustrated. But in that discernment after the ascension, the disciples begin to learn that maybe something is going to happen. Come back next week and you'll see the end of the story, or the beginning of the story, really. Because what happens is that we're called to wait and to hope. And in the gospel, we get the message. We are to go forth, baptizing in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit. Now, that's my job. But each and every one of us has that role too. By our baptism, we are called to bring people to Christ. We are called to live our faith in such a way that we are an example to people. We are called to be there when somebody experiences a what am I going to do now moment. How many times have we had a situation occur where we don't know what's going to happen and a friend shows up, or somebody gives us a call, or somebody just says, I'm here. That's what it's all about, being there for the person, knowing that we are never, ever alone, no matter what's going on. And when we realize that we are not alone, that the Spirit of God, which we will celebrate next week, is always there to protect us and guide us, we'll know what to do. And maybe if we don't figure it out, somebody will help us figure out. And that's why our baptism is calling us to do, to be there for people, to help them figure things out. And when we say, now what next, we know we're not alone. Because we have God, we have the Spirit of God, we have His Son, whom we celebrate in the Eucharist, and best of all, we have each other. Never forget the power that we have to be present for people in significant moments in their lives. From the time they are born until the time we send them home to the Lord in death, we are not alone. And let people know that we are always here to minister to you, to be with you, to guide you, and know that the Lord is always with us.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of the Mass. This virtual Mass is broadcast to hundreds of people every day of the week. You know, over 100 years ago, the very first celebrations of the Mass took place on the second floor of the Glenview Public House. It's been inconceivable that 100 years later, we would be reaching so many people all over the world through this technology. If you'd like to support the ongoing broadcasts of OLPH's Masses, please go to our website, go to Give Central, and you'd be able to support the ongoing outreach of this virtual ministry. Thank you for your support. Most of all, thank you for joining us in prayer. God bless you.